Hello everybody, my name is Mattwise and this is my Fanalysis for today. So if you saw my update video or been following my Facebook page, you may remember that I said I was going to have a video out for the end of October. But I didn't. That was because while I was preparing to go to the MCM Comic Con in London at the end of that month, I also found out that the main cast of RWBY were going to be there as well. And so I ended up rushing to try and make some artwork for them to sign in time for that instead. Although this meant I didn't get to make a video in the end, it did get me thinking about something. One of the best things about being in a fandom is that you get to see how other members of the community can be inspired by the things they enjoy, that they create something and share it with other people. And plenty of times the stuff they make is actually quite impressive. I started this channel because I love talking about fandoms and the stuff that they create. But because a lot of stuff out there, fan art especially, isn't necessarily enough for a video on their own, I figured why not make a video every now and then that lists some of the works that for one reason or another really catch my attention. And on that note, here's my first video of 5 fan works that I think are really awesome. I figured I might as well start things off here with something from Minecraft. Cause let's face it, the internet is kind of oversaturated with this stuff, and YouTube being no exception. Anyway, the game's popularity was due to its simple yet versatile building system and infinitely expanding in-game worlds. By the time creative mode came around, plenty of players were already assembling projects at an incredible scale. These have come to be known as mega objects, and they can range from recreating video game sprites and pixel art to replicas of real life or fictional locations. However, for now there is one example in particular that I would like to talk about.
Now, first thing you're going to notice is I'm kind of staring at a corner of a very, very deep well, and it's made out of bedrock, and it's very, very high, and I'm sure you're probably thinking, why Halcoon? That is a very, very deep well, and I'm going to show you the reason why. It is currently holding this.
About 6 years from now, in October 2010, one player under the username Halcoon used Minecraft to build his own model of the USS Enterprise from Star Trek. And this thing is huge! Not only has Hal said that the whole thing was built at a 1-to-1 scale, but he did it all by himself within 3 days! I could say how I can't even make a video in 3 days, but then again I don't think that's really saying much. Okay, to be accurate, he didn't make the entire Enterprise in that time, but he did manage to get its basic structure down, save for the engines. But over the following year, Hal had been working with a group of other Minecraft players to flesh the whole thing out, and looking back at the update videos, it's incredible to see how much the project developed over time. I remember seeing the original video when it first came out, and also seeing a fair few people mocking the guy for spending so much time and effort on this, and I personally think that's a shame. This project was initially built by one person but would become fully realised by many, and it even appeared to have kickstarted a community that has gone on to make other things together. Because of this, I like to think of the Minecraft Enterprise as a nice reminder of the creative possibilities that the game has offered us. If you have seen my Super Mario Bros. Z review, then you know I've talked a little bit about what I think makes crossovers so appealing to many fans. Personally, I think even the most unusual combinations can, at the very least, appear good if they are done right. In my review, I also featured a few pieces of fan art as examples to the kind of crossovers fans have made. Among these was an image by a person known as Z-Edge on DeviantArt. I think it's safe to say that Sailor Moon and Mad Max are two properties you wouldn't normally imagine belonging together. It was certainly reason enough for this to catch my eye, but looking at it some more, I noticed some details that made me appreciate it even more. How Usagi's outfit had been altered to better match the aesthetic of the Mad Max movies was obvious enough to me, but I really like how, upon further inspection, you can see that the colours have also been made to more closely match those of the Sailor Moon characters. The vehicle itself was modelled after Usagi's brooch, with even the tyres having paint splatters that correspond to the coloured jewels referring to the other Sailor Scouts. This is just one of a series of drawings by Z-Edge called the Franchise Remix, and just about all of them have some vibrant colourful tone to them, even the ones with backgrounds that are mostly black. It probably helps that all the characters are surrounded by a fine white outline that makes them pop out more. The use of the outlines has certainly become more refined with later images, while on some earlier ones, it can come across as a bit too thick, like this crossover of Metroid and Attack on Titan. It makes the character look a little too awkward, almost as if they are glowing. That said, the visor of teeth is an amazing touch. But still, there is a good amount of colour to each drawing, even the ones that appear dark at first glance. Not only that, but there is definitely a sense of fun to noticing the details of the combined franchises and seeing where they cross over. On that basis, I would gladly recommend people go and check them out. I'm pretty certain I wasn't the only one disappointed with Spore. With the way it was advertised, I was hoping for something like a free-roaming version of Evo's Search for Eden. Instead, what we got were 5 games crammed together and spread so thin that it barely held up as just one.
The chief failing of Spore is that it's trying to be 5 games, each one a shallow and cut-down equivalent of another game, with the Civilization stage even going so far as to be named after the game it's bastardizing.
It really says something when the most entertaining thing to come out of Spore was the creature creator. You know, that feature they sold separately before the full game was actually released. At the very least, I know I'm not alone in that opinion. While it may have turned out about as well as you might expect from some people, others were more than willing to test out the possibilities, and I believe that a lot of the creations featured on Dark Age TV are a testament to those possibilities. Of course, Dark Age has recreated assorted characters and creatures from franchises such as Pokemon, Monster Hunter, and How to Train Your Dragon, but I feel that the original creations are some of the best looking creatures in Spore that I have ever seen. I know that they use a modded version of the game, which I'm sure helps a lot, but even so, the amount of detail plenty of them have is just insane. Some of them are so detailed that it's actually impossible for the game to even render any animations for them without crashing, yet alone actually save them. A shame really, because I would have loved to have come across something like the Great Red Dragon during the time I played Spore. I don't really feel I actually have a whole lot to say. I just think that a lot of these things look really cool, and I would strongly recommend that you check out the Dark Age TV YouTube channel, especially if you loved the possibilities behind an awesome feature to an otherwise kinda disappointing game. Imagining an anime version to something that wasn't originally so is a common enough what if among fans. With that, there are a fair few people out there who have attempted to create anime-style intros and outros to assorted franchises. Given how quickly Blizzard's most recent release Overwatch has risen to popularity, it is hardly surprising to see it get the same kind of treatment. There are actually quite a few fan-made anime-inspired intro videos out there for the game already, but a couple that caught my attention in particular are the Season 2 and Season 3 intros by Helix 101. Between the two, I definitely like the first video more. Not only does it have the catchier song choice being the ending theme to the anime Mob Psycho 100, it doesn't contain anywhere near as many flashy transitions and filters, which makes it a lot easier on the eyes. Not only that, but while I appreciate the Season 3 intro showcasing a bunch of artwork other fans have made for the game, the different styles can be fairly noticeable at times. They don't sit together as well as the 2D and 3D clips used in the Season 2 intro. That said, I do feel that both of them make good use of the action. They cut between different clips of these sequences at an appropriate enough pace so that none of it feels all too cluttered. But again, I do feel this is something also done better with the first video. Overall, I do think that these videos both have a simple yet effective style to how they were edited that makes them worth checking out. So if you ever try to imagine what Overwatch might look like if it was presented as an anime, this should provide some decent feel to that fantasy. Well, since the whole idea for this video took off because of some Ruby fan art, it only seemed appropriate to wrap this up with some as well. More specifically, I was thinking of the artwork by BuckDoe, who is on DeviantArt under the username Dishwasher1910. This guy had been making artwork based on the series pretty much since it first came about, and it's interesting to see how much their artwork has evolved since. There is a lot to look at from this collection, including a set of Halo crossovers which feel strangely appropriate considering that these characters are from the same team behind Red vs Blue. However, I think Buck's most striking pieces are his latest works, in particular those that were made following the events of Volume 3. Plenty of Ruby fans are now aware of how the ending of the third volume took a more severe, and probably for some people, alarming turn of events. The artwork Buck had made afterwards not only brought out the darker tone of the story, but also appeared to have struck a chord with fans who've seen them. While the series may not have quite gone as dark a route with its story as some fans may have initially expected, there is a consistent enough tone between the actual series and Buck's artwork that none of his own concepts ever felt too out of place with what has happened so far. While he does have a few different art styles through which he represents the characters of Ruby, the quality they consistently share is their use of colour. The colour and shading on his artwork is great. They help bring out the right amount of detail, often making even the sketchier pieces in his gallery very appealing to look at. Some of his speed painted images, for instance, are outright beautiful. As I've said before, there is a lot to look at from this guy, so I like to believe that most fans will be able to find something from it all that they will love. To me, BuckDoe's Ruby artwork is an example of how fan art can be made to not only reinterpret crucial moments to a story, but also imagine new possibilities for its characters. By doing so, they may fuel the love and adorations fans have for that story and its characters, while potentially generating interest from those who are less familiar to them. In my opinion, this is just as important as any technical skills, if not more so, when it comes to making great fan art. Well, there you have it, and just to clarify, none of this stuff was listed in any particular order. I know there's a lot of great stuff out there that deserves to be noticed. If there was anything in particular that I missed you think was worth mentioning, then feel free to tell me about it in the comments, and maybe I'll get to talk about them in a later video. But for now, that was my Fanalysis for today, and until next time, take care. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. As I said before, this may be one of a series of videos that I might make for this channel. If you'd like to see more of it, then feel free to let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if there are any other videos you'd like to see, you can feel free to subscribe or check out any other videos I already have on this channel. You can also follow me on Facebook for any updates of any new videos that I'm making, or you can go on Tumblr and ask me any questions. Finally, I'd like to give a special shout out to Zed Edge, Helix101 and Dishwasher1910 for making this video possible. You can check out some of their work as well as the others featured in this video in links in the description below. Well, that's all for now, but until next time, take care.